Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TableTalk. We're going to be talking about BGG Spring 2023.
In our experience. So BGG Spring 2023 had a much larger turnout than last year, which is great. I do enjoy meeting more new people and whatnot. They upgraded their name tags, which I really like. So this is the old one. They put a little index card in there, but this is the new one. So it's all nice. And then there's a schedule on this side where you have the library hours, the exhibit hall hours, and the Spiel hours.
Yes, so even though Spiel are technically out just kind of all the time, that is basically the time designated for the judges to be out and about to explain or answer questions about the games.
Teach the game.
Teach the game if they can, because sometimes they might be tied up with the game next to you, So yeah, let's start off with the bazaar and the VFM, or virtual flea market. We bought about a dozen games or so.
So the virtual flea market is when people who want to sell their games post it online before the con even starts. And then if you want to buy the game, you just message them saying, hey, I want to buy this game. And then there is a time and place at the con where you would go and meet up to make the exchange.
Yeah, they schedule a ballroom, basically, and they have about 60 people or 60 tables with 60 vendors to do the exchange if they're selling in bulk or lots of games.
Yes.
Because there are a handful of people that put a couple games up. They don't sell a lot. So, you can use the virtual flea market in the comment section to try to connect with them and be like, hey, I don't have a table, or where are you at? Let's meet up right outside the room or somewhere else and make the exchange. Otherwise, you meet up in the room and you're running around trying to get to all the vendors you bought from and make a exchange.
Well, they give you an hour, which is plenty enough time to go through all the tables and make your exchanges, depending on how many games you bought.
So the bazaar differs, in which case that is a haggle on the spot.
A free market.
It's you want it, you see it, you buy it then and there. You may say, hey, if you're not sure about the price or you're not 100% sure on that game, you could walk away, but it may not be there in 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what's going to happen.
Well, buyers beware when you buy a used game or a game that's open. You may or may not have all your pieces. So that is one of the negatives of buying a used game. It may be cheap, but you're taking a risk. So there was a time where we did buy a game and it was missing a couple pieces, but we were able to connect because I bought it from the virtual flea market.
This was last year. We also know, because I know some people will also sell things in bundles, so like a game and a bunch of expansions, and if they played it, they may actually have organized them a little differently, and which is, if you're like, hey, I already have base game, can I just buy expansion from you? Be careful for that too, because this happened to a friend where they bought an expansion and they didn't have all the pieces, and they have some pieces for base game, so they're gonna have to try to reconnect.
Which is a little more difficult because
it was a purchase on the spot. You gotta try to figure out who bought the other half of the game, right?
All right, so let's move on to the Spiel nominees.
Yes, we'll move on to the Spiel.
These are games that have been released in Germany this year and that they enjoy.
Yes, and they've been nominated for some games, Game of the Year, basically.
Mm-hmm.
They have 3 categories. You have the Kinder, which is usually kid-oriented games. We had the Spiel Des Jahres, which is pretty standard stuff. And then the Kennerspiel, which, in my opinion, is usually a bit more thinky, a little bit more heavier stuff. So we'll start with the kid stuff. The Kinderspiel nominees are Mysterium Kids, Carla Caramel, and Gigamons. So we'll start with Mysterium Kids. What did you think?
Mysterium Kid is where you have a little tambourine and you take turns being ghosts. You choose a token which lets you know which picture you want the people to guess.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a cooperative game. You make noises with the tambourine and they try to guess what picture you're trying to point them to find the treasure in the house.
Right. Case in point, if you're trying to get them to guess door that's knocking, you might tap the tambourine twice while their eyes are closed, kind of situation.
Yes, but like this tambourine looks fragile, so you don't want to hit it too hard. But then if you hit it too gently, you can't hear anything. If you hit it too hard, you might break it. But you have to hit it hard enough to make a sound. It's just, I like the game. I just don't think it's for me because I'm thinking like I'm afraid that tambourine's gonna break.
Yeah, I can definitely see. I think it's there are nominees for reasons. They're all going to be good games for kids, but this one I could definitely see that tambourine drum instrument being worn down very quickly, especially if a kid wants to play it repetitively, which I think we all know that kids like to do that.
Yes.
Repetition of something they really like. But I do find it was interesting. When I read up on this game, or was informed about this game prior to, I was like, that doesn't make sense to me. How are you going to do that with just that?
Like different noises.
Inspiration came to me while we were playing, and it was like, wow, it's very versatile of a thing.
Just gotta be creative.
Yes,
All
creativity. Right. Next, Carla Caramel.
So this game is where you are trying to scoop ice cream for the children. And if you are able to scoop these ice cream for the children before the sun melts, you'll have some points, depending on how many scoops the kids get. And depending on how well you do, it'll let you know.
So you're building...
This is a cooperative game.
It's a cooperative game. It is a... Well, yeah, so far the Mysterium and...
Carla Caramel?
Yes, they are cooperative. And in Carla Caramel, you are building ice cream cones to serve to kids and moving a sun along.
But it's based on dice rolls. So the dice has a kid, a sun, and 4 flavors. So if you roll a flavor, you scoop the ice cream. You roll the kid, you give the kid a cone. And if you roll the sun moves and can potentially melt the ice cream, just depending on how many scoops are there.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of luck. There's also a coin or a token that you flip for a 50-50 chance of getting kid or sun.
Under certain circumstances, like if you roll a strawberry flavored scoop and there's no more strawberry tokens, that would be one where you flip the coin.
When you use a coin.
Or if all the cones are full, you flip a coin.
Yes. So it's a lot of luck based.
It's just chucking a dice, I'll be honest.
Yes, and I don't care for it. But for a kid, I think they would definitely enjoy it. It was very nice aesthetics. The box makes a cute little stand.
Cute theme.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. Last one is Gigamons. Basically, it's a 3x3 grid with a stack of extra tiles. It's a memory match game, so you're trying to match two of these little Gigamons. If you do match them, you get a little special power based on which one you match. And then if you can get 3 of the tiles, so basically 2 matches,
yes,
you can cash the 3 in to get a Gigamon token.
Yes.
The winner is first to get 3 of those
Gigamons.
Gigamon standee tokens, yeah.
Yes, and it was very cute. I loved memory games growing up, so I really enjoyed this game, and I wouldn't mind having it in our collection.
Yes, I think it's very good for kids. I enjoy the additional layer of a memory match game. Because I used to do that as a kid with a regular 52 deck of cards. And I enjoy that extra layer of something for kids.
Yeah.
And the only competitive one out of all the kids' stuff.
Yeah. Okay. And the next game?
Next is going to be the Spiel games. We have Dwarf Romantic, Next Station London, and Fun Facts.
So, Dark Romantic is a cooperative game where there's 2 different tiles. They're region tiles, and then they're gold tiles. Gold tiles are first flipped, 3 of them, so you kind of have something to work towards. And then the next person will flip a region tile, and you just build your little town. I thought it was kind of plain, because that's just kind of all you do, those 2 little sets of tiles.
One might say a cooperative Carcassonne.
But this is a campaign game, so the more you play, you can add more components to the game and make it more, what's it called? Complex?
Interesting and complex. Adds a couple, some layers to it. There's not too many things. I mean, there's like a couple boxes in there, and to achieve those, there's a sheet of achievements. You like, oh, I did this. Oh, now you can open this box. I don't mind spoilers, and I wasn't sure if we were gonna buy it, so it's like let me just open a box and see what's in there. Some interesting components that I was unfamiliar with after playing the game a couple times. I think that was interesting, and some how to integrate
The rules?
them. Yeah, how to integrate them. But it also had some more landscape mission tiles with some more number tiles for the missions. Like I said, I did mention it kind of has a co-op Carcassonne element to it. I do feel like this is definitely a game that there could be a person that can try to take control and be like, hey, you do this, you do that. So there's a risk of that in this game. If you don't like those kinds of co-ops, stay away from it.
And that's kind of how I feel. So,
or especially depending on your game group too, right?
Yes.
Because I think there's a certain game group for us that we could play with, and that won't happen. But
moving on to the next game.
Yes. Next station, London. It's a flip and write. So basically, this game you have a deck of cards, some 5 pink ones, everything else is blue with some shapes on it. You shuffle them up, and you flip based on the shape. You draw lines on your board, and
everybody starts at a different station.
So yes, to start, everyone has a different color marker which represents a station, and you're going to be drawing from there. Once the fifth pink card is flipped, that's the end of the round, regardless of how far deep in you are into the deck. And then everyone switches markers, and then
you start at your new station.
Start a new station. You will be scoring in between.
I did enjoy this game because I did enjoy the play of the game. Like I thought it was interesting. That was very cool. The one thing was it's hard to see the path to the stations, and so sometimes you can miss your options. And so I didn't enjoy that part of it. But on the BGA, you can play this game, and they highlight all your options. So you can for sure pick the best route. Or at least, in your opinion, the best route.
Yeah. I think it's fun. I will say I got distracted when I played where there was a moment where I thought I was stuck, where I couldn't draw a path anywhere. But then I realized later, like, I just overlooked a station that was much further away, but had a straight line to it.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about. So, I mean, I wouldn't mind playing it. I just don't think I would want to own it. We have other games that do very similar mechanics. So.
Yes.
And the next game.
So the last one that was just a regular Spiel nomination was Fun Facts, which is a very fun party game.
It is co-op.
It is co-op. So basically, you're going to get this arrow, dry erase marker. You write your name on one side. On the back side is where you can put your answers. And you get a prompt.
Yes. The prompt is usually like a number question. So you can write numbers like 1 to 100.
So some examples will be, how many board games do you own? Just put a number. Or how long can you stand on 1 foot?
And you have to use units, obviously, like a minute and an hour and whatnot.
And then as starting player, I'll put mine. As a second player,
I can decide if I think my number is higher or lower and move it accordingly.
And then everyone around the table will go until it gets back to start player. They can then readjust theirs, just them, just once. And then you will flip them over. And you're trying to get them in ascending order.
Yes. So you can take out those numbers that would disrupt your ascending order. And then the longest, the number of numbers, the tiles left is what you score.
So yeah, and you write that number on the little star, which indicates who's start player, and then pass it along. I can't remember the number. I think it's like 7 or something cards that you start with the deck.
I'm not sure.
But yeah, that's how many times you get to do this passing around.
Yeah. And it was a pretty fun game. I enjoyed it. You learn facts about the person you're playing with. We played with some strangers, but we got to know them a little better.
Yeah, it was very fun, so that was Fun Facts.
I wouldn't mind owning this one.
Okay, so next are the Kennerspiel nominations, which are Iki, Planet Unknown, and Challengers. Iki, IKI, Basically is a rondel system where you're all trying to manage shops in this little
Yes.
town.
You would first choose if you want to go first, second, or third.
How many spaces you? We all decide how many spaces you want to move, and that will determine our play order.
Mm-hmm.
Then you will have an opportunity to buy a market, in which case you will put it on the board and put a little employee there, little people, and then you will then move the spaces allocated that you allocated to yourself, and then take the actions. There's one on the board, and then if there are markets that people have placed into those slots, you have a choice of either or in gaining some resources or what have you.
Yes, it's a very interesting mechanic because if you go to your own market, you don't get to gain experience. But if you go to an opponent's market, you help them. They gain experience, but you get to have better resources and whatnot.
So yeah, when you gain the experience, you move your little worker on it up on a little track they have.
And ideally, you want your market to owner or
you want your market little shopkeeper to retire.
Yes.
So move it up enough, you retire it, and then
you can get bonus.
You can get some bonuses every time we have a change of season. This game is played over 13 months, and every 3 months is the end of a season. And then, of course, that 13th one is kind of like a bonus round that allows you to kind of go anywhere you want instead of having to deal with the movement.
And there's
support.
a lot more intricacies of this game. It is a longer game. It took us about maybe 2 or 3 hours. I don't know exactly. A longer time to play. But you score points a bunch of different ways, and then you have to be careful for fires in the market.
Yes, at points the fires will come up and start burning things, so you have to have a firefighting power to either remove it or let it burn through you and let it deal with the next person.
So yeah, it's a very interesting mechanic. I didn't fully know what was the best route to go to score well. I did enjoy playing the game, but I think I need to play it one more time to know if I really like this game.
And need it to add it to our collection.
But if you don't like it, then I don't want to add this.
I'm okay, because moving on to the next nominee, Planet Unknown, I like more, and I think should be in our collection.
Yes, we both really enjoy Planet Unknown. So this is where you are terraforming a planet?
By laying polyomino pieces and trying to fill up the board. But then as you add pieces, there are comets that are being involved, and as you place tiles, you'll gain resources on this track, which will then allow you to
do more things.
Move a little rover, which will clean up those comets, or get some bonus cards that give you or some points or something, or some extra abilities, or technologies, or all kinds of things. You had a little bit more experience before we went into this, playing at a friend's house, and you played with like advanced rules.
Yes, so a 2-player does play a little differently, and we did have extra things in there, which made the game a little more difficult and challenging. Which is, first time playing, you don't want that challenge just yet. But now that we've all have experience, a little challenge would be nice.
Yes.
So
and thank you for Rusty at game night, because he was around and he actually taught us the game.
And he did a great job. So
he did an excellent job. Thank you again.
So as soon as this game comes out, we are going to get a copy.
Yes, because we hear it is very hard to find, and
yes, it's sold out at the moment.
Yeah. So the last game that is a Kennerspiel is called Challengers. Basically, it's a fighting bracket tile system. Tournament style. Yeah, and there's some deck building of sorts.
That's the main component of the game.
The theme is capture the flag, but basically, if you're familiar with Battle or War with a 52 deck where it's just, flip a card, highest card wins, very similar to that. For example, I'll flip a 4, and then you would need to flip cards until you could equal or surpass it. Then I will lose that. They will go to a bench on the side. Then I will keep going until I can beat the last card that you played. Go back and forth until either someone runs out of cards or someone fills up their bench. And then that player will lose. You'll take a little trophy token, and once everyone is done, move on to the next battle, which will reorganize everybody.
And you get to upgrade your cards at that time. You could and throw away the lower cards that you don't want. So you gotta have a really good balance in your deck. You don't want to throw away too many cards because you'll run out fast and lose. But you don't want to have too many cards because you'll fill up your bench and lose. It's a good balance, but I'm not really a deck building person. So while it's a good game I wouldn't mind playing, it's not one I would own.
Anyway, yes, I think that one has a good spot for like large groups, or like a game night when you plan on having a lot of people over, or like just functions that have gaming.
Yeah, I could play up to 8 people, and it can do odd with the robot mechanic.
But yeah, I'm okay. We don't need this.
All right, and we can talk about the games we played that we checked out the library.
So yeah, moving on to pretty much most of everything else we played. The library is about the same size as last year. And of course, I had all the new hot games checked out. A lot of them
okay, so one
hard
game,
to find.
Yes, one game we've been trying to play was called Heat, and it was never in the library. If you wanted to check this game out, you had to stalk the person that had it and make sure you walk with them when they checked it back in so you can check it out.
I witnessed this firsthand. I was looking for a game, and I was like, I wonder if Heat's available. And then I heard somebody saying, oh, hey, did you want this? I looked behind me, and there's someone who just checked it in, handing it off to someone. Didn't make it to the shelf, and went right back out. I was like, well, I guess I'm not playing that game this weekend.
No, yes, we tried to get it. We couldn't, but we heard great things about it, so definitely try to check that game out if you can.
Yeah, that was the second time I've seen it. The first time I watched it was when we checked in, and we just didn't grab it when we first walked in the library. We should have, had we known.
We didn't know how popular it was going to be.
Hindsight 2020, guys.
Yeah. All right, but the games that we did actually play, let's go.
Let's see. First, we'll start with some light ones. Kites.
That's a cooperative game where you are flying kites in the air. You have these little sand timers, and then you flip them over, which means the kite is in the air.
So yeah, you play a card to flip it over, and you're trying to keep it from running out of sand. And each sand timer is different in its length of time, from like 30 seconds to like
maybe a minute, or
maybe two minutes, maybe.
So yeah, and you're trying to get through the deck before the sand timers run out. And with however many sand timers are still left in the game, you will check your score and let you know how well you did.
As most co-ops do, tie score based type situation.
I mean, I liked the game. I thought it was nice. You know, it gets you going. But I think Matt got a little anxiety trying to play this game.
I had like stressful panic of like, hey, I can flip this over. It's about to run out, and then someone else does it right before I flip it. So then I'm like, but if I flip it back over, it's going to be like almost out again. I don't want that.
Well, then you play a different card. But
every card in my hand had that color on it. Like,
but then the next person has to do it. But I thought it was a pretty good game. Not one that I would own, but I wouldn't mind playing.
Anyway, so next is Venn. Basic kind of a party game. You make a Venn diagram out of these translucent things, and someone's trying to make everyone else guess certain words associated with numbers by placing pictures.
So this game could be competitive or cooperative, and I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yes,
we did not have enough players for the competitive, so we did cooperative.
Yes. The person who's putting down pictures and people guessing, there's a 2-minute time limit, which I think is a little
too fast.
It's a little not so much good, because in 2 minutes I don't think I was able to look through all the pictures in 2 minutes.
They gotta make it challenging somehow. If it's so easy, you'll get bored of the game.
I understand, but I think maybe like 1 minute per word to go through some pictures.
Okay. Well, moving on.
So next is Splendor Duel. If you're familiar with Splendor, a very popular game, Splendor Duel is very good. It's a 2-player variation of it.
They do have the gems, but they added pearls.
Yes, they added pearls. They added this mechanic instead
of the board of how you collect the gems.
Yes, instead of taking off of piles, they're organized in a spiral, and then you have to take like 3 in a row or something like that. And
then they added crowns, and like one way to win is having 10 or 20 crowns.
So it introduced some different victory points mechanisms. So you have getting 20 points, or you can win by getting 10 crowns.
Or 10 of the same gem.
Yes.
So that was very interesting. They didn't have royals, but they had something similar to royals, but you get bonus points and one extra
2 or 3
power.
2 or 3 bonus points, and then an extra action, because they also added these scroll elements would allow you to do some special stuff.
Yeah, I really enjoy Splendor Duel, and I think I would like it in our collection.
Yeah, I think it would be a very good 2-player.
Yes, and I normally don't like 2-player games, so this is a pretty good one.
So going on to the next one is Acropolis. That's a city builder, which was interesting.
So you have these tiles, and there's a little market tile. If you want the first tile, is free, but if you want the next tile, you have to pay 1 stone, and so on and so forth. And you're building your city with different
types of plazas and districts,
markets, and churches. They scored points in certain ways of how you place the tiles.
So your plazas are basically a multiplier, so you could go anywhere, and that'll multiply how big your districts are, or how many districts you have, or what have you, depending on like she said, the types: market, army, housing, residential stuff, or church.
So what's cool with this one is you can layer the tiles. There are rule placements, but the first floor of tiles is like 1 point. Second floor of tiles is 2 points, and the third floor of tile is 3 points.
So another multiplier involved. Also, that's how you get stones, which will pay for the market.
Yes.
To get different tiles.
So I really enjoyed this game. I wouldn't mind having it in our collection.
Yes, it's a very good one. Very good, light one. But then we'll move on. Next one we played was Village Rails. That one was an interesting little train game. It's a little tiny box. It was really fun.
Yeah, you had a grid to build your train tracks in, and you had to get certain goals.
So there were objectives.
Objectives,
and
yes.
There's a very similar mechanic of the I want the first one, it's free, right?
Yeah.
And then I want the next one, I gotta pay for it, and what have you, put coins on it. You have those for the trains as well as the goals.
Yes.
And so in order to achieve goals, you got to grab it before you finish your tracks. There's also other things like tickets that you, every time you complete a track, you put down a ticket, and it'll get paid based on some kind of criteria.
That's how you get the money to buy the pieces that you want. So this game is actually pretty interesting. There's a lot of puzzling through it.
I really like it for how big it is.
Yes.
Only thing I don't like about it was
the aesthetics.
The aesthetic artwork.
Yes.
Things blended a little too much, or sometimes
you couldn't see all the icons on the card because they're small, and then the one green looks just like another green.
The forest and the jungle, those look too similar sometimes.
And the symbols, it was just, I think they just need to update the images a little bit to make things pop more, and it would be a great game.
Also, your starting grid was a very thin little piece. Sometimes I completely just I forgot that terrain existed as a starter.
All right, and moving on to the next game.
Anyway, so here's one that we both enjoyed so much that we actually ended up playing it twice.
Yes.
It's a hot game during the fall called Lacrimos.
So this is where you are trying to help Mozart compose his last musical piece. There's a lot of different actions to do. You get bonus points in all kinds of other ways. It's a pretty complicated game.
Yes. Basically, you have a hand of 4. You're going to take 2 cards. Top one is going to be action. Bottom is going to be
resources.
Income at the end of the round. You do this 4 times, and then you get some resources, reset everything, and that's pretty much the gist of the game.
Yes, I at first was thinking, I don't think I'm going to enjoy this game. It's kind of bland with the colors and stuff. It is very thematic.
I mean, 18th century composer. Yeah, it's got like very beige, a lot of beige colors to represent sheet music and stuff.
So it was thematic, but I really enjoyed the game, and I'm very thankful for the person that taught us this game because reading the rules would have taken forever.
And I was really wanting to play this game because I personally enjoy classical music that is Mozart and Beethoven.
So yes.
Of piano nature.
So this one will definitely come into our collection soon.
Soon or at some point.
Yes.
So next we have Steam Up. That one looks delicious.
Yes, you got these little steam.
Makes me hungry.
These little steamers, and then different dumpling food items, and you move them around and try to collect them and to get points on your board.
So you get food tokens, and then you spend them to collect the steamer with said food in it.
Yes.
Put them on a board, get points.
Yes. It was a little bit of luck with this dice rolling at the end of each round to get items and whatnot. I did enjoy the game because of how cute it was, but the game mechanic and whatnot itself, it was like it could be a little better. I'm iffy on whether I would get this game.
Yes. If we do, we're probably going to try to get deluxe, though, because they're just cuter.
Or you said we could upgrade the pieces. We could buy the buy retail and upgrade pieces.
Get a retail or upgrade.
Yes.
That's the thing, right? So, moving on, we also have the Kiwi Chowdown. This game, we played about half a game, and at that point, we were just kind of like,
I'm ready to eat. Like, games, if I really enjoy it, then we will play through it, and I will wait to eat, and I will feel hungry, and it would be fine. But this game, while it was very cute, it was an area control, and I was getting hungry, and I didn't feel like it was worth delaying eating.
Lunch.
Yeah.
So yeah, we end up cutting that one quick. I agree. It was kind of humorous and funny.
I think I would play the full game, and I did enjoy it, just not enough to wait to eat, I think.
So yeah, I mean, basically this game is there's a map with all your pieces, or most of your pieces already on the board, and you're gonna play a card, which may allow you to move kiwi around pieces, right? And they'll push people around and push them off, or trying to get in a particular little
region
terrains, which will help maybe score points at the end of the game.
Yes, and it's these kiwis trying to get area control for their food.
Yes, so that was cute and fun, but we had other things, other
higher priorities.
So we played also Aquatica.
So Aquatica was recommended to us, and we played it, but it was really late. I don't think we played it right, or we didn't fully understand the game. Because when you're playing it, you want to build your deck, but apparently that's not the goal. The goal is to score the goal points.
It's so kind of an engine builder, kind of a deck builder.
Yes, but it's if you go towards the goal, it ends the game pretty quickly. And if you try to build your deck and you don't score the goals, you don't do well. If we played it correctly, then it's a game that you can get sidetracked trying to do other things. I'm gonna build this really good engine mentality. It's like, yeah, but that's not gonna get you points. Yes,
you need to do this other thing over here to get the card to get the points.
So
engine is
for me. The game was it felt, if you play it properly, it felt too short to build your engine and actually maximize it, in my opinion. But if you didn't play, if you didn't go towards the score, then the game was too long. It was just a weird balance that I just didn't get behind.
But once again, not 100% sure if we got the rules right on that one.
Yeah, we'll try it again another time.
So next we played Mille Fiori, which is a Reiner Knizia game that we really enjoyed.
And it was about glass producing?
Yeah, we're producing glass of sorts. The rules in the library copy happen to be the French ones, so we had to look up some rules on that one.
And we watched a video of how to play it.
Yeah.
It was very interesting. I do like the gameplay. It's just I didn't do very well in that game. Pretty
pieces. They're acrylic transparencies. Basically, you're going to draft some cards, play them one at a time, or reveal them one at a time, and then play a glass or acrylic tile in a location based on the card you played. Or move a ship.
And score points. So it was very interesting. I would definitely play it again. I love how it looks. I just didn't do very well.
But yeah, I think we both really enjoyed it.
Yes. Not as a 2-player though. It was kind of boring as a 2-player.
Yeah, we got a couple turns in, then someone wanted to join us. So.
Yes.
Then we played Canvas. Canvas we are familiar with, we own, we have played it several times. They had the expansion for it, but some of the people we went to play with pretty much wanted to play this game and were like, hey, we can teach you. So that's kind of how we ended up in this one.
So Canvas has translucent cards, and you collect 3 up to 5, one at a time, and then you make your paintings and you score ribbons depending on how well you made your painting, if it had all the elements according to the goal. And at the end of the game, you just count up your ribbons and how many points you got, and whoever has the most wins. I really enjoyed this game. We had it, like you said.
Where we are waiting for the
third
expansions to come in. We ordered them.
Yes.
But I enjoy it. It's very pretty. It does have quite a bit of replayability with the different goals you could change out. And, of course, the transparency, just the fun of trying to layer and puzzle it together.
Yes.
We didn't get a chance to do the expansion. I did read it, though. It added an interesting little twist to it. But I will say it is a mechanic that... Or the game does rely heavily on the gimmick of it being transparent cards and building. And I think it can get old kind of fast.
Not for me, but maybe for you. But the next game is Hedora. So Hedora is where you're... What are you doing in Hedora?
I don't know. You read the rules for this one.
You are... You're doing a couple of different things. It is a card drafting game. And you are getting cards to increase your resources. You want to have your army up. You want to have your artists, build sculptures.
I'll say the resources you want is kind of dependent on what direction you want to go in the game. For example, the game we played, well, I think food is very important resources because that could determine how many cards you can have.
Yes.
But
money is also very important because that's what's used to buy everything, and money is very tight in this game.
Right. But I mean, there are some players that we played with that they limit themselves to 10 or 12 food and money, but then they went really heavy on the pottery and the army one because they end up getting cards that gave them points for that, right? Well, no, they didn't get cards. They built the statues to get them points for that.
It was a very interesting game. It is very repetitive in the steps, so it's easy to learn and play. It just took a minute, I guess. This game was a 60-minute game, and I guess this was all our first time playing, so it took us,
late at night,
2 to 3 hours to complete this game, but we all enjoyed it, and that's the point of the game.
It's always about having fun, right?
Yes.
It did. You did mention it did have Splendory vibes to it.
It did have Splendory vibes. It was like a Splendor mechanic of building your engine, and then a Seven Wonder mechanic of the card drafting aspect.
A little bit, even though you're not actually pulling and passing. They're on the wheel and you.
It's almost the same thing.
Yeah, similar aspects.
Yes.
Anyway, and then one of the last games we played of the night was Ethnos. That game, we've played it during last year. We played it again because once again that was hey, you want to play this game? We can teach you.
It's a great game, and
it's
the
good.
person we taught it really enjoyed this game, so it worked out real great.
Yes.
And then the other game we played was the Fish and Cats game.
Yes.
This is a dexterity game where you have these little cat paw finger puppets, and you are pawing for fish, and you have to get 3 of the same fish to score points, and whoever gets to 6 points first wins.
Yes, that was the last game we played. That was a fun, cute dexterity. I don't know if that's going to make it to our collection.
Probably not, but it was fun and cute.
The one cat game that goes away. Anyway, so that's all the games that we've played out of the library.
Yes.
Let's move on to the last but not least, the exhibition hall. So
first thing we did is we went to the BGG store and bought our t-shirt.
yeah, so there were quite a few games. We did not get a chance to get to every game demo that was there, but
we did get to the ones we were interested in. So one of them was like
maybe
similar to a D&D.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I will say there were some other games that I completely forgot about towards the end, and we didn't get a chance to play. But yeah. So one of the booths was a D&D.
It's not exactly D&D.
It's
not
D&D supplements.
Yes.
So if it's, hey, I'm making a campaign and I'm building this story about some stuff going on in this region of this world I made, but then my players decide they're going to jump in a boat and then go off and do something else, then what I had, these books are good, like, oh, I need to do something real quick. I can grab that and have some type of small adventure on the water.
I mean, it could be just a one-shot game also. You don't have to have this big world. You could just use the book and do a one-shot game too.
Yes.
And that was a great idea for, like, I would enjoy that because time is hard to get everybody together to do, the same story. So this lets you play with different people and have different stories.
Yes, but they also had other stuff. They also had this thing I believe was called Badge Quest, which is kind of a easy, quick style. I think they were describing it's a good D&D type style that you can do over the internet and stuff. All you need is to be able to mic and someone describing what's going on. And maybe a D6. And it's like, oh, you succeed on 6, everything else is a failure. Kind of situation. And it's just a little story. The cover looks like it's got some Girl Scouts on it, so it's obviously following them around.
So, and then there was a game store there selling their games. There was a tea shop.
Tea shop selling game stylized or themed teas.
And then there was a t-shirt shop. There
was some other shops that were just selling like knickknacks or like these big D20s with characters on them and stuff.
We did meet an old friend from the BGG Fall that had their booth there, the Blue Jays. They were there also. We didn't talk to them as much since we kind of already knew their game.
So if you want to see their game, go check us out from
our previous video.
Spring, BGG experience. Or check out, because we did, I believe, how to.
Yeah.
Too. But
they were there.
They were there.
And then now these are going to be new games that we kind of learned about. Or maybe had play tested.
Or previous experience with.
Okay.
For example, they had Goliath games. They were there with Honey Buzz, which we played with iHeart Board Games over on their channel.
So we kind of already knew about Honey Buzz. We didn't really ask questions about that. But the other games we talked about was...
we had Fire Tower, which is interesting, where you're trying to... Basic last man standing, but you're playing cards to spread this fire in your opponent's direction.
And burn their water tower down while blocking your water tower.
Not water tower, fire towers.
Fire tower, okay. Blocking your fire tower from damage.
Yes.
It was an interesting mechanic.
That was an interesting fun. They had Alice's Garden.
Which, it looked really pretty. It was a polyomino game where you're trying to get these pieces, put it on your board, and ideal ways to score. And the pieces look great, but we did not play test it. We didn't do a round or any. So I don't know exactly how I feel about liking the gameplay.
Yeah, it was pretty. It had some interesting mechanic of sorts. I think It's basically polyominoes again.
Yes.
A lot of those.
That is popular right now.
Rondells and polyominoes are making a rise. Anyway, another game that they had was Lunar Dial. So if you're familiar with Illimat, it had that kind of vibes. It was kind of like
It's the same designer. This is the second
spiritual
one.
successor to that
Yes.
one. But you're playing cards on like this cloth board, and you're trying to collect these stones based on the regions on the board, and you know.
You had to play it in a certain way with like full moon, crescent moon, or no moon,
Yes.
and do certain things with it. And for that one, we didn't really play a turn, so I don't really know how I feel about the game. The representative wasn't really wanting to go through it with us, so.
Oh, she seemed more excited over the Lunar game than the Alice's Garden.
That is true.
But also you're not exactly a huge fan of Illimat either.
No.
So, so then they have one called Amoy Bunnies. That one was a very cute and
family-friendly game. You have asymmetrical characters with different goals, and according to him, it's about 10 minutes per player.
10 to 15 minutes
per player. So that's a pretty short-sounding game. We didn't get to play it because they were busy. Which
every time we walked by, there was someone demoing the game, and they looked like they were having fun.
Yes, so we will definitely try on our next con. Hopefully, we'll have a chance to try playing that game.
Yes, because he said he would be there.
At Dice Tower East.
Yes. Check that out. And then our last... let me see.
Our last publisher
that
we went to?
Yes, our last publisher that we went to check out was Captain Games.
And I really enjoy my experience at the Captain Game booth. The attendees were very enthusiastic about the game, and they taught us the game. We played the game, and they went through both of the ones that they're showing off.
Well, they were technically showing off 3 games.
Yes.
But one of the games they were demoing somewhere else, which we'll get to that one last. First, we'll talk about the 2 that they were demoing at the booth. They had Slides, which was a game where I had...
this is cooperative.
Yes. So I had to try to guess a word that I picked. The table had a card with a bunch of words on it. I picked a number or color, depending on how difficult you want to be. And then everyone else knows what word they want me to guess, and they're trying to use...
the alphabet. There's different letters we can use depending on what's on the board, and we have to give you a word hint to try to get you to guess that word.
And you have to try. We have to try to do it as many as we can before we run out of letters or something of that nature.
Yes,
it was a fun game, but
it was a little challenging.
It was challenging.
And so some of the words, they're like, I'm not sure if this is the English word, so.
Oh, yeah, they're very nice, very helpful.
Yes.
But I understand with, being in America, the way we speak is a second language. It can be confusing sometimes. But they did really good.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed the experience.
So the second game that we played with them, 13 Words, which we think was a really fun party game. Thank you, Captain Games, for giving us a copy.
And this is also a cooperative game.
Yes. So basically, it kind of looks like a clock, and they have various cards. They're going around this clock at each of the times, and there'll be one in the middle. And I will try to think of a clue, trying to associate the word in the middle
with one word
with a word on the edge. And then I have this little secret dial that I will make what I'm trying to associate with. Then everyone else has to do the same.
And we had to guess what word he pointed to on this dial.
So we all reveal, and we get a point for each person that actually matched what I was trying to associate with. and then it will be the next player's turn, and so on and so forth, until we get to so many in the middle, and then after that, we will flip over the player marker and score based on some kind of chart.
Yes, and I really thought it was a good party game. It can hold up to, what was it, like 6 or 8? It was a big count.
It's a big kind. I think it's a very fun party game.
Yes.
We're going to definitely be playing this at our next game night.
And we will have an unboxing in the future.
At some point. And the last game that they were kind of like, hey, we're going to be publishing this, but go find someone else to play with. Little treat for us, it was Fabien, the designer of Turing Machine, was essentially demoing his next game that he's designing, that he's publishing through them, called Path of Civilization. Basically, or Path to Civilization. And yeah, it was very interesting, kind of resource mechanic-y, but very simple to understand, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's a couple steps. First, you assign some cards, then you'll put some resources. You'll produce by putting resources in certain spots, and then you will
buy cards. And
well, I'm just trying to do an order. Oh, then you resolve where the cubes are. Have an opportunity to buy a wonder, move up a faith track,
get a hero,
get a hero or a leader, and then you'll go on to moving of production. So you have like an income track of sorts, and then you will go on to buy a card with those resources, and you'll end up, because after each round you are discarding a card, so you always have 5.
Yes, you always have 5, and you just slowly improve your cards that you play.
Yes, and then there'll be a couple rounds of nothing, but then you'll have like a philosopher scoring bit, and then you'll have
it's just
war.
It's kind of like a goal, an end round goal to try to get more points.
Yes, so and then so you have like a philosopher and a war alternating till the end of the game.
And it changes because there's a bunch of different options for the end of the round goal points. So yeah, It was a very interesting game. I did enjoy it, and it was helpful to have the designer walking you through the game so you know you're playing it right.
Yeah, any questions we had, he was very helpful, very friendly. Can't wait to see you again, Fabien. You were great.
Okay, and so those were all the games that we played.
Yes.
At the exhibit hall.
Yes. So that's basically our experience at BGG.
I really enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed it more than the first time we went. We were a little awkward the first time.
Oh, first time, man. We could try to learn.
Don't know what you're doing, but this time it was like smooth sailing.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So now the hard part. Out of all those games we just listed, what is... I'll be easy and say your top 3.
So, and the Spiel and the games we play in general?
Just all of them. Everything we went through.
Oh gosh, that's pretty hard. I really like Planet Unknown. That's going to be one of them. I really enjoy Lacrimosa, surprisingly. We played it twice. So yes, I really like that one. I'm going to have to think for my third one. What about you?
Same. No, actually the same. Path to Civilization might be my third.
Okay.
I don't know.
I think, I want to say Hedora. We really, even though, like, we knew who was winning. So we knew we were, like, gonna lose, but I still enjoy the game. And I think, so
yeah, that
Hedora
was the winner one. Yeah.
Hedora might be my third favorite. So yeah. Well, so thanks for watching our review of BGG Spring 2023.
Yes.
Please like and subscribe.
And comment down below. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye-bye for now.